Hello, everybody, and welcome to E-Train Talks. My name is E-Train. I'm your host, and I'm a literacy advocate, podcast host, and the founder and CEO of the 501c3 charitable nonprofit E-Train Talks, Inc., which works to end book deserts and provide stories to kids who truly need them. And in today's special episode, we are diving into the creative world of Alan Silberberg, an award-winning author and illustrator known for his heartfelt and humorous middle grade and picture books. And so, sitting across from me today is the man himself, the star of today's show, the creator of amazing stories, Alan Silberberg. Thank you for being here.
Well, E-Train, you are always the star. We are merely orbiting around you. It's nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I know we've chatted before as a group, but it's nice to have a little bit of a one-on-one with you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. And if all of you have been following my literacy journey, you know I take great pride in celebrating Jewish authors and the stories they create, which is why I'm so thrilled to have the chance to talk with Alan about his books, many of which, if not all of them, are Jewish picture books. And Alan doesn't only share stories in books, he shared his stories in films, in comic strips, and it all sounds pretty amazing, which is why he's here. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to learn a lot. So, I think without further ado, if you're ready, Alan, let's get into the questions.
Hey, I'm ready and I'm here. And, I just wanted, before we start the questions, I just have to give a shout out to who you are, your advocacy, your
Thank you.
presence online. You're really, I said before I start, you really are a bright beacon of light in times that are kind of dark. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. And I appreciate all the writing that you do.
Thanks.
You are a bright light in a world that definitely needs some more brightness.
We
And
try.
maybe cloudy outside, but you're kind of that sunshine that's kind of peeking through. So, right now it's time to talk about the story behind your stories. So you
Okay.
might not know this, everybody, but I had the chance to meet Alan and interview him on my 2024 Festival of Lights author panel. And we spoke about the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. And now that the Purim holiday is quickly approaching, one of my favorites, I thought it would be fun to talk to you about your Purim story, Meet the HAMANTASCHEN, a Purim mystery. So, it is a brightly illustrated, humorous, and energetic tale. So can you share a bit about this Purim mystery story and how you came up with the idea behind the three detectives included?
Absolutely, absolutely. For me, this, I didn't start out thinking I would ever do a Purim book. I started with Meet the Latkes, which was my humorous take on the Hanukkah story with a family of cartoon latkes. And I thought that was it for my Jewish books. Like, I had no intention of doing more. But with the kind of acceptance and success of the format that I did with Meet the Latkes, to do something silly and use sort of my children's background of funny and a little bit irreverent, I actually did Meet the Matzah next because I came up with the idea that Alfie Komen is a great name and I need to use
It
it somehow
is.
as a kid in school. So that aside, the Purim book came about. So there I have two books, Meet the Matzah, Meet the Latkes, and you got to do a trifecta. So
Right.
Purim just seemed like the next logical holiday. And since I'd already done Meet the Latkes, which was a family, and then intentionally Meet the Matzah was a school bully story,
Right.
I knew if I was going to approach a third holiday, I needed a different take on it. And so I kind of brainstormed for a while and thought, wouldn't it be funny to have these kind of klutzy, know-nothing detectives who were Hamantaschen, who don't think they're Hamantaschen because they're so identified as detectives, who go undercover to discover the case of the missing Megillah at Purim.
Mm-hmm. It is a very fun story, a very sweet one, and I think you do such a really good job of not just adding fun little tidbits, you create these fun stories, but along the way, kids really are learning about the holidays. And the best stories are ones where kids don't feel like they're learning, but they really are. The essence of the stories is all about learning and kind of being educated about holidays. But your stories are just so much fun, so entertaining that it doesn't feel like that. And
Like,
sticking on the topic of Purim, it's a favorite holiday of mine, and the food is delicious as well. So will you share your favorite part of the holiday? And just for fun, what is your favorite Hamantaschen filling?
well, let me go backwards.
Yeah.
Start with the filling. I am a purist. I like the poppy seed filling Don't give me the kind of chocolate sprinkle filling or the grape jelly filling. I like that gooey, poppy seedy taste and crunchy, flaky dough. Do you have a favorite?
I do have a favorite. So I like a combination of adding some milk, kind of making a s'more
Ooh,
HAMANTASCHEN. So the
nice.
HAMANTASCHEN is kind of like the graham cracker in a sense. Then you get melted marshmallow and melted chocolate, put it together. It is delicious.
Well, I next time I'm in your part of the town, I will hit you up for a s'more hamantaschen. What I like about the holiday the most, I like that it's centered around Esther, and I like we don't have a lot of tales that get told. I mean, the Jewish history has a lot of females that are kind of hidden, but the
Right,
Purim story really has front and center a female uh, protagonist, and that always kind of stood out for me. The hard thing about doing these books is when you start digging into what these holidays are really about, the deep down stuff is kind of like it's not light and fluffy the way like Purim we celebrate as a Purim party and Haman and we read the Megillah, but the there was a lot of destruction and distrust and um, there's a lot of stuff that I have to kind of skip aside and try to gentify.
right.
Um, Vashti being banished. It was fun for me to have to kind of come up with ways to have my detectives be silly and tell the story, as you said, and kind of not get too deep into it. So
Right.
my favorite part of the holiday is the Purim party, the Megillah stuff, but the holiday itself can get kind of heavy.
It can. So my next question for you is about a post I saw on your social media, and it really stood out to me. So you recently said that you got out of the house,
Yeah.
and folks, that may not sound like that. I mean, you're probably thinking, Etran, why are you sharing this? What's so important about that? Well, it's not the writing itself; it's the picture that's included in the post. So for starters, I mean, there's so many books to read, so it's kind of not often that I get out of the house, except for some hikes that I take over the weekend. But this is not about me. It's about a sketchbook that you actually shared a picture of it in your post. So I'm curious to know if freestyle drawing, like the sketches displayed in your picture, is
Yeah.
how you come up with the ideas for your books.
A lot of times, yes, actually. This I have boxes of these starting from when I was your age, actually, of just doodle books of I know I'm not intentionally trying to show you the pictures because I'm just flipping, but
Right.
uh, I will go often either to a coffee shop or here at home and just doodle many times. If I have a book idea that I'm working on, the characters will end up in here. And occasionally the characters start, the whole book comes from just a doodle session where I draw something and go, oh, that's something that I need to use that. I need to make something out of that. So I can't live without my little doodle book. And I know a lot of writers and cartoonists and authors have that same sort of attachment to their writing tablet and their pad. Um, I do want to say about my post, though, I live in Montreal, Canada,
Mhm.
and it has been so cold. What I said in my post was big announcement. I got out of the house. And for me, we got one day that was above like 25. And so I
Wow.
did go for a walk and went to the coffee shop. And it was a big day for me because I hadn't been outside for a while. So that was the
Yeah.
back that
Now,
post.
I'm in Sacramento, California, so I do not want to make you feel jealous, but it is like 70 degrees here. So,
Stop it. Stop. I'm telling you, it is 8 degrees today.
I mean, at least it's not below zero.
Yeah.
That's a plus,
See,
at least.
that's what we like about you, E. You've got that always positive look.
I mean, what really upsets me about weather is if it's like really cold but it doesn't snow. So it's just kind of like tundra weather versus actual like snowy kind of fun weather because you're still going to school,
Yes.
even if, I mean, I personally, there's no snow in Sacramento, so I
I
don't
was
really
gonna say
know.
you've never
I'm
had a
just
snow
spewing
day.
nonsense potentially, but
You've never
it's
had a snow day, right? Like
I've never had a snow day, unfortunately, but that's what I'm kind of referring to. If it's like really cold or there's still like snow days, is it considered a snow day if it's really cold, or do kids still go to school?
I think it's called a frozen pipe day.
Ooh,
Ooh,
I
I
like
made
that.
that.
One day I might have that. Maybe I'll move out of this town one day, go to the
One of
big
these
city
days,
life.
like
One
move
of
out
these.
of the.
So, anyway, this brings me to a very interesting fact I discovered about you. So,
Hmm.
my mom actually kind of discovered this. I mean, we both discovered it, and she was very curious about it. So, you share that you are the only person with a bachelor's degree in cartoon communication education. So, my mom is convinced that this is a real kind of fact, a real actual bachelor's degree. And I'm not so sure. So, I guess the real question is, what do you mean by this, I guess, this description of yourself? And is it fact or fiction?
Well, I think it's fact. I mean, it happened. It's what when I went to university. I went to the University of Massachusetts, and there was a program where you were allowed to design your own major by plucking
Oh,
from
really?
different departments.
That's
And
really
so I
cool.
was interested in education. I was a cartoonist. I was interested in writing. All I had to do was find an advisor who would kind of back me up, which I found, and I could have my own program. So, though my graduation certificate diploma says, Bachelor of Arts, the program I graduated from was my own program called Cartoon Communication Education. And I wanted
Really
to kind
interesting.
of look at using cartoons in education. And um, in those days, I sort of thought I wanted to like make animations for Sesame Street. And that was sort of the kind of mindset I was in. But I don't know. I feel like that sort of set the stage for my whole life of creating my own major, creating my own life as a writer, as a creator, I don't have any rules in the same way that 9 to 5 jobs have rules. It's hard
Right.
to have to like motivate myself, but it's also a gift. And I feel very fortunate for that.
My next question for you is just a bit of an appreciation question, but also a question in itself. So, I really appreciate just the silly and whimsical illustrations in your story. And
Thanks.
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, your stories are also educational. They don't dive too deep into the holidays, but there are little bits, little kind of tidbits here and there. Oh, the story of Esther. Oh, the significance of Afikomen. And from Meet the Latkes to Meet the Matzah, your picture books inform and they entertain young readers. So I can't imagine it's easy teaching young children history. And I mean, you're not a history teacher per se, but your books are kind of, when you talk about picture books, these are books that kids are read to or read by themselves really before they go to school sometimes. So they're kind of the first history lessons that kids receive. So can you tell us just in an essence, in a sense, how your picture book journey began? And have you always wanted to teach the history of Jewish holidays and just write about Jewish holidays for kids?
I, I, I kind of wish the answer was yes, that was always my goal in life, but it wasn't really. It was, my background, and I know we'll talk about. I used to work in television, and after doing kids television for many many years, um, I wanted to try something new, and kids books became that new thing to do. I started with some middle grade novels,
Right.
and then I never, even though I've been a cartoonist my whole life, I've always been writing and drawing, but I never saw myself as a picture book person. But my agent saw that little animation, and you've probably seen it, of the Lotke family. And I made
Right.
this flash animation years ago as a greeting card of this family of Lotke saying Happy Hanukkah. And my agent said, "Do you think there's a story behind that for a book?" And that became the impetus to create a book that got rejected by every single uh, publisher, Meet the Latkes, because it was about a Latke family throwing a Latke party eating latkes. And the big note was cannibalism. No, we can't have latkes eating latkes. But I did find there was one editor at Viking, Lila Sales, who saw in my humor and in my style a nugget. And she was like, if you work with me, I can't guarantee that I can sell this to my editors, but I want to partner with you to try to help you make this book happen.
That's awesome.
And without her, I would not have a journey, actually a journey discovering some of my own Jewish background and heritage, and um, kind of my identity as a Jewish humorist. I never was that person, but thanks to her, thanks to Mithalakis, I feel very blessed. I'll use that word. I feel very blessed by this.
I love that. That is a sweet answer. I love that. And my next question for you is about your background in children's TV shows. So, for those who don't know, an interesting fact I discovered about you is that besides writing and illustrating children's books, you've also created and written children's TV shows for Nickelodeon and Disney. So, can you dive into this part of your past a bit for us?
Sure. Well, coming off of that cartoon communication education, I always wanted to be in media. I thought children's television would be um, a place where I could do something. So after graduating university, I had a few jobs doing television here and there, but my biggest break came when I became the head writer for a Nickelodeon game show. Like this is years and years ago, called Double Dare,
Why
and
not
it
Double
was.
Dare?
Oh, you do know Double Dare? Okay,
I do, of
so
course.
I became the head writer of Double Dare, and that opened the door to this whole world and friendship with Mark Summers, with Nickelodeon. And from there, Disney kind of hired me to become the head writer of the Mickey Mouse Club. So I moved to Orlando and became involved with a whole other set of, sketch comedy writers. And it was lovely. I had a great beginning to a career that then branched off into working for other people. I did other things with Disney. I did other things with Nickelodeon, including a cartoon called Doug, which doesn't exist anymore, but I wrote a lot for that. Um, and I moved to Canada actually to do a children's television show that I co-created that lasted for 2 years of work. And everybody else went back to the United States. And my wife and I said, let's stay. So we've been here for 25 years.
That's really sweet. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize, a lot of kids, for instance, may think that an author has only been an author their entire lives, like 20 years old up to 100. They're just an author. But there is so much more to the story. And that's why we're here today, because Alan Silberberg is not just an author. He is so much more. He's not one-dimensional.
No, sir. Nope. I mean,
So,
I didn't publish my first book till I was, in my 40s, which
wow.
still young. I mean, it's still very young, but you're right. A lot of people assume the career begins in your 20s or 30 or anyway, it's the message of never give up, but always keep trying is
Yeah,
my sort
because
of.
I mean, people may dream of becoming authors, but the actual road to get there and get your first book published and get your second, get your third, and be so on and so on, it can be very difficult and very emotionally grueling and kind of scary, kind of heartbreaking because sometimes you have that first idea and you're like, this is going to be a published story. This is going to be a novel that everybody's going to read. And if it doesn't get sold, then a lot of people may be frustrated and maybe even quit. But don't quit. Don't give up because you got to hold on to
Very
that hope.
frustrating.
Keep on writing.
But I think in a day of um, interconnectivity and social media, which magnifies some of the angst of it, there's also much more community, I find. And that's how I met you, through social media. And the community that I've established, I hate to say it, but online, because I don't I don't get out of the house much.
Too cold.
And I live far away, has been so supportive in a journey that is continuing. And I do feel very thankful.
That's awesome. And looking back on your writing journey, I actually happened upon your middle grade book, Milo. I have it right here, Milo, Sticky Notes and Brain Freeze, which, like your picture books, features a lot of silly humor and is a good fit for many types of middle grade readers, including reluctant readers. However, you also add another storyline component that really stood out to me, and that's the subplot of Milo's mother passing away and the backstory behind that. The fog associated with his old house is a really powerful metaphor, in my opinion. And can you touch a bit about why you felt it was important for your character Milo to go through such a traumatic experience? And I guess as a follow-up, do you see yourself writing for the middle grade audience at all or any more in the future?
Um, I'll get to the second question, but the first
All right.
question is, you know, Milo was my second middle grade novel. Um, the first novel was called Pond Scum, and it was not it was not about me so much as Milo is. The character of Milo, when I started the book, I just wanted to make a wimpy kid like middle school. Kid feels anxious. Wants to have a girlfriend, with cartoon story, funny. And the more after the first two chapters, the more I started thinking about being, 12 and what's it like to be like heading into middle school. My own emotional life came into it, and the trauma of losing a parent was my experience. So Milo's story um, echoes my story. I lost my mom when I was 9, and I realized I could write a funny book because the award that it won was a humor award. I could write a funny book and have it still be about grief and have it still contain, the fog and the moments in a person's life that are both painfully funny and funnily painful. Like I'm so proud of that book, and it tells a fictionalized story of some of the things that I experienced as a um, kid who lost a parent, and I feel very grateful to the response I get from this book because I don't know, like we want to touch people in our writing and in our art, and I feel like Milo, of all the books that I've created, really it does good. Like I feel really good that I made this book, that I shared this story. And
I love
thank you
that.
for reaching out and reading it.
Of course. And now, on to your newest book. You went from your oldest story, or I guess least recently published book, to now your newest, because you have a book coming out in July,
Yep.
this time a picture book called The Bagel Who Wanted Everything.
Yep.
I'm a fan of bagels, so that instantly caught my attention. And this story tackles the fact that anyone, whether a bagel or a human, is special just the way they are. But also, it's important to not conform, but rather branch out. Because you can be a plain bagel on the outside, but what's really important is what's on the inside. So I may not be a bagel, but I guess I mean I have stuff on the inside, I guess.
I
So
think we're all bagels on the inside and outside.
yeah,
The,
except we don't have a big hole in like the middle of us. That wouldn't be very good. Our
some
heart.
of us like and that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
I created this book because first of all, I thought the title was funny. And I know that's a terrible place to start, but for me, a lot of my projects begin at title stage. The Meet the books were concepts before they became stories. And I loved the idea of a bagel who wanted everything because it immediately evokes an everything bagel. But that's not what this story really is about. It's not a bagel who wants to be an everything bagel. It's the exploration really of why do we have to be one thing? Why do we have to be the only thing that we are? Why can't we be other things? Why can't we break out of the norm? Why do we need to conform? And
Right.
in my story, the rule is that all bagels are just one thing. And there's garlic bagels, there's salt bagels, there's onion bagels, and plain bagels. All good bagels. But this one bagel, who's a little plain bagel of a family of plain bagels, wants to be more
Hmm.
and goes on a journey to discover what more feels like and looks like. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun making that. It does come out in July, and I'm excited about that. And it led to a second book, which I'm just starting the art on now, which is The Falafel Who Felt Awful. and it's
Ooh.
another journey book about um, why does this character feel so bad when all of his friends feel great? And how does this falafel find his way to feel better? And I'm really digging this journey I'm on of these funny food books. It's really fun for me. And I can draw. I
Yeah.
can't draw like humans, but I can draw like food I can do.
Yeah. And now, sadly, I mean, it's not necessarily the last question in the interview because we do have some rapid fire coming up. But this is the main question that I ask every single author interview. It kind of signifies we have had so much fun and we will have more fun in the future, but at least the recording may be coming to a close soon. And I have received many different answers to this question over the years. If you could be or meet any literary character, you could meet your favorite author or your favorite book character, who would it be and why?
I gave it a lot of thought. Like I knew it was coming, so like I had time to
Right.
think about it. I I have like it's like an impossible Sophie's choice. Like how do you choose this? But in Dave Edgar's The Eyes and the Impossible, the main character of Johannes, who's a dog,
Right.
who had just eternal optimism and energy and the influence to make a huge difference in the lives around him in the setting that is created by Dave Eggers. I just loved that book so much and loved that character so much that I the character put a smile on my face like every time because his voice is throughout the book. I just that's who I would pick. I would pick that character.
A fantastic story, really great characters, and I'm so glad it won the Newbery. It
Yeah,
deserved it.
me too.
So, before we get to the rapid fire, I just want to say, everybody, one last time, happy Purim.
Here's mine. Oh, here, I'll get my hat. Get my matzah hat,
Ooh, I love it.
which
That's awesome.
it's pushing holidays together, but it
Yeah.
still works.
All right, now it is time for some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
And folks, I did not send these to him in advance. So,
Nope.
these are all organic, brand new ideas popping into his head. So,
I am nervous.
first off, a classic, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Oh, we can still be friends, I guess.
I knew. I know. I'm so sorry, E. I knew for you the answer, but dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, why? Let's go back to the bagel book. Why either or? Why not both?
Yeah, I mean, I love dogs as well. I'm just more of a cat person. But yeah, why not both? And anyway, moving on, what is your favorite candy bar?
Milky Way.
That's a good one. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I already have the invisibility one because I work at home. So let's say I kind of like X-ray vision.
That's a
Just
good one.
see, like I feel like as a writer, I do have it because I look inside people and I'm very emotive. I feel the emotional life, but I'll leave it there.
And I think with X-ray vision, that's like an instant. You can become a doctor or a nurse. You can get a really good job, and just because you just look at them and then you're like, oh yeah, you have a broken bone there. Who needs X-rays? And you have just the amazing Alan Silberberg. So now, physical book or audiobook? Which do you prefer?
Physical book, but I will say when going back to my previous answer about the character, the Eyes and the Impossible. We went on a trip every year. We drive from Montreal to Maine, and that was the book. Like I did not read that book; I listened to it, and it is the most phenomenal audiobook. I love audiobooks. Ethan Hawke narrates the whole thing, and so, but physical books for me as a like when I'm home, but a good audiobook is amazing.
I love it. That is a fantastic answer. And I think I prefer physical books as well, but I understand that there's so much value with audiobooks, especially when you have a really great narrator.
Yes.
Now, what is your favorite childhood book?
I mean, that I read as a kid?
Yeah, that you read as a kid, like during your childhood.
Half Magic was the name of it. It was
Ooh,
a book that stuck with me. It just stuck with me. It was the first sort of chapter book I think I locked onto. I loved the story and how it was magical, but there was also a twist because you only got half of what you wished for. But
right.
the kids had to figure that out. I don't know. That was mine.
Great answer. Now, what is your favorite holiday?
Ooh, gee, nothing comes to mind. I guess Flag Day. I don't know. I don't have a favorite. I favorite. My birthday. My birthday, maybe. I don't know. Do you have a favorite holiday?
I would say my birthday, but I feel like that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say you're cheating, but in my opinion, it's a little bit like I'm thinking more of a Hanukkah sort of thing. Like,
Well,
not,
Hanukkah. I mean, I am a huge fan of Hanukkah. I mean that I've always loved the whole season of Hanukkah and making latkes. And as a kid, the lighting of the candles and of course the gifts. But as an adult and as a parent, Hanukkah's always been cool.
yeah,
I've passed on to my grown son the love of making latkes. So that
I love latkes. And now another question that I'm really interested to know about: if books could talk, which book would you want to have a conversation with?
oh I think the dictionary would be a really cool book to have a
It has
I
such a
mean it wouldn't
dignified
be
conversations. It would be like just
yeah,
indubitably, Alan. I
it wouldn't be very in depth, but think of the breadth of what you'd get, from the ocean of the dictionary. I kind of like that.
I like that as well. What is your least favorite holiday? So now we're going from favorite to least favorite, opposite sides of the spectrum.
Well, my least favorite holiday,
I mean, I guess
it-
not
you know,
necessarily least favorite, just one that you like. I mean, you like it, but like it the least, I guess, because I don't think anybody dislikes holidays.
well, I don't know if I have a least. Like, I kind of just like holidays. I've got a career from holidays, so
That's true. You do have a
I'll,
career
I'll
behind.
pass on I'll pass on that answer.
All right. Now, the final question, one that could decide everything. It's life or death. Do we keep or do we toss gefilte fish? Are you a gefilte fish fan or not?
Once a year, I think gefilte fish should just go into hiding. But but once a year, for that first Seder or the second Seder, it can come out.
Yeah,
I will eat it. Like, if I have good horseradish and a bite of gefilte, I'm okay with that. I actually like that. Now, any other time of year, if I even smell it, I have a problem.
right.
I get a sense you do too.
Yeah. I do as well. I mean, I am a very picky eater in general, but gefilte fish are kind of that's like an extra sort of thing. But I understand the meaning of it, so I respect that at least. And
Yeah, but respect and taste are two different
yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean, I can respect with my brain, but I don't think that really translates to my mouth or my taste buds.
Right.
Well, I've
That's
had
a
such a
great
great
point.
time talking with you, Alan. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Same, Ethan. I've been looking forward to this, been waiting for it for a couple of months, and
Me too.
it's just nice to have some time with you because I think you're just this amazing person.
Thank you. You're an amazing person as well. And everybody, this is coming out on Purim 2025. So get ready to celebrate, everybody. Have just have a great time. Read the Megillah. And of course, when you hear Haman's name, always bring out the grogger. So hopefully I didn't burn your ears right there. And have a great Purim. Have a great rest of your day. and check out all of Alan Silberberg's stories. They're everywhere. They're on Amazon. Amazon. They're also on independent bookstores. Check them out there. And yeah, until next time, stay safe, keep on reading, and Chag Purim Sameach. Happy Purim, everybody. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, keep reading. Bye-bye.